1. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to the Synchronicity Podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Megan.
And we change your brain to change your life. We take old patterning that you were given in childhood and open you up to new thoughts and new ways to go about life, and that there's alternatives out there that you were given you were given in childhood, guaranteed, but you don't have to continue the pattern into adulthood. So we work in all sorts of different forms of changing your brain.
Yeah. Plant medicine, mainly.
Yeah.
Change your brain to change your life with reprogramming. I always use rescripting, but reprogramming using a microdose of psychedelics, because those change your neural pathways faster.
Yep.
And today we are talking about, I think I always say this, my favorite subject, because our work is literally all of my favorite things.
Literally.
So I say this a lot. And that's because, this is why we have a podcast, because we have collected so much information in this world. Nicole and I both have a lot of Gemini in our charts. So that's just an information and placement in astrology.
Or we just got really curious in life.
Well, we wanted to heal. And the thing is like we sat on therapists' couches and psychotherapists, and I was like, nope, that's not it. Nope,
Al-Anon
that's not
meetings.
it. That's not it. It just never felt right. And then, when we landed on all of the things that we talk about and just continue daily to expand our arsenal on, how to heal and truly heal, not slap a Band-Aid over it and go on with life being miserable, but how to truly, truly heal. And I will say this was a big one in knowing where you're at and what you're going through, because the body does keep score. If you haven't read that book, read that book. But this goes right along with that.
Disclaimer, careful with that book. It's a lot.
Fucked up. But
it's a great book, but it is gnarly.
But it's true. And and this has to do with German New Medicine, but it's essentially conflict and fussing and how that actually creates dis-ease, mental illness,
addiction,
everything.
Trauma.
Everything is conflict.
Yeah.
And when actually the first time I ever heard about German New Medicine was from one of my pilots so many years ago that was Austrian. And he was like, have you heard of German New Medicine? And we were talking about one of my friends that had breast cancer at 28. And he was like, well, what side was it on? And I was like, well, it was on her right side. And he's like, that's a conflict with her dad, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no way. Well, this was 10 years ago. And then I started looking into it. And to this day, 10 years later, I have never had German New Medicine be wrong. And this was actually brought about, I think, in the 70s, right? German New Medicine was?
Yeah, it came... There was a doctor who started studying biological conflicts, and he was starting to realize that the body was, even though, pretty much from my understanding and what I've read about it, and when he passed away, that germs exist, but germs cannot be triggered unless the body is in conflict, right? And then it manifests. So I was actually just having this breakdown the other day in my head because I was reading about new German medicine, because I've been so sick the last couple of days. I'm sure you guys could tell. I've been so nasally on the podcast because I've been fighting a horrible head chest cold. But
what's really going on?
Yeah, exactly. So I always, Megan and I, before, right, it would be run to the antibiotics, run to the doctor, run, right, to modern medicine. And then when we really started researching German New Medicine, we started to see and understand the biological conflict. And there's 5 different biological factors. Obviously, I have not studied this in depth. I have read a lot about it. And I follow many people that study it, and we have mutual friends that talk about it quite often. But a lot of times it is usually chiropractors, acupuncturists, people that are kind of in the outside of the medical world that believe in this practice. And Chinese medicine actually talks about it. A lot of acupuncturists will talk about, oh, you have a block here, and this is manifesting here, because it's literally conflict that's stuck in the body.
Yeah, or it's even you're unconscious. This is going to be TMI, but I don't really give a shit on the podcast. But one of my exes was cheating on me, and every time I slept with him, I would get a yeast infection, and I looked it up on German New Medicine. It's because it's a biological conflict of territory. So my unconscious and my body knew he was sleeping with other women.
Yeah.
So that's why every time I slept with him, I would get a yeast infection, and that's actually how I knew he was cheating on me, and he couldn't figure out how I knew. It was actually German New Medicine. So when your body gets sick, you know, your unconscious knows everything, right? Our conscious mind doesn't. But when you have these kinds of, and I'm not saying that everybody that's getting a yeast infection's husband or boyfriend is cheating on them, but you are in a territory conflict. So he might be emotionally cheating on you. You might be emotionally cheating. There is some kind of disconnect in your relationship that needs to be looked at. And you can literally Google German New Medicine. And like anytime I go through a heartbreak, I get like bronchitis or things like that. So, you know, that's just for example, so you can kind of wrap your mind around like how the body keeps score or how the body responds to energy or conflict, like we're saying. That's the kind of stuff that goes on.
Well, and it's really crazy too, because so German New Medicine, like we've been like studying it, look it up, and like we, you know, where is that person at? What's going on? What needs to be processed? It's kind of like a manifestation of a trigger, or something is happening. But what it happens is that when the body gets sick, it's actually coming to a resolution.
Correct.
So it's not because you're in it, it's because something is coming to the forefront. So, you know, my ex came back, you know, after no contact for a little while. He came back about a week and a half ago. He reached out to me, and within days I was sick because it came to a resolution of, oh, okay, now we can process this. Now, like, what, you know, what's going to happen moving forward. And we talked about stuff, and like, it was all of my body, like actually processing this stress that had been building up for months. And so when you look at it, it was kind of crazy because it was like, when I looked up a head cold, it literally said like, you're fed up, or like you're done with something, like you're moving forward. And I was like, oh, here we are. Like,
I mean,
it's never wrong. But then,
never wrong.
You know, we have also done a lot of work with Louise Hay. And although Louise Hay has already died, she has passed away. She was one of those that very, very early for her time, right? She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, I believe. And she went in and actually started to, through studying Eastern medicine and different thought patternings and stuff like that, that she all taught herself. Her books now are unbelievable. Like her book, You Can Heal Your Life, has an actual book that it breaks down the affirmation based on what it is, so you can heal certain things.
You can heal your body.
Yeah. And so it's thought patterning, it's body manifestation, it's triggers, it's everything that the body holds. So like the body keeps score. It really, in real time, New German medicine is proving it to be true.
Well, and this is coming out in the consciousness because
Yes.
like Gabor Mate just came out with the myth of normal.
Yes.
Like, but what's really funny to me is that this consciousness is thousands of years old.
Yes.
Literally, it goes back to Taoism, and a Taoist proverb says, "Beware of your thoughts, for your thoughts become words. Beware of your words, for your words become actions. Beware of your actions, for your actions become your character. Beware of your character, for your character becomes habit. Beware of your habits, for your habits become your destiny at home, financially, and in the hospital." And that's fucking crazy to me that that's a Taoist proverb that's thousands of years old. Nicole and I work a lot in Taoism. And, so German New Medicine is nothing new.
No.
The myth of normal is nothing new. The body keeps score is nothing new. You know, I know quite a few women that have even had hysterectomies, and they have sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual trauma of some sort in their history. And, you know, it's the rejection of the womb space, of the rejection of, you know, not being protected by the masculine. And like even the word disease, right? Disease is dis-ease in the body. So like wherever you're not dealing with your trauma, hello, like even weight, right? Like obesity is a masculine shield in women and is Wuss syndrome in a man, because men have no testosterone, and women have such high cortisol that they literally have a flesh shield protecting their bodies from being, feminine, from being what we call like vulnerable, weak, whatever, because we're weaker than men. So we're literally seeing the physical manifestation, because if a woman can't drop weight, it's because she's physically in fear. So
the internet has been talking about this lately.
Everybody's been talking about this.
It's been like such a thing. Like we had a client 2 weeks ago ask us about like, oh, like I'm around all these women and they like talk about like they're on this diet and that diet, and like we were talking to him and we were talking about like the emotional aspect of it, and he was like,
emotions.
Holy cow. And then it was like it's been all over social media.
Like even cellulite is a devaluation conflict in the body, which creates hyperestrogen, which causes the breakdown of fascia in the legs and mainly in the legs, but wherever it is in the body. So because you devalue yourself, your body physically breaks down. And that's why it's more common in women, because we tend to be more self-conscious of our bodies. But you're even starting to see it in men now. This topic is so crazy to me. And
the crazy thing about it is like a lot of people even talking to like our shamans and like talking about like in the plant medicine world, I think we're going to see a massive shift in the healing of the physical body and the mental body. Like our last podcast, you guys, if you listen to it, we really talked about like using psilocybin to come off of antidepressants and stuff like that. But plant medicine's been practiced for thousands of years, and a lot of these ancient tribes that were giving their children ayahuasca at an early age, they don't have disease. They have no, like, their disease doesn't exist. They don't cancer. They don't have, like, blah, 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 right?
Because I'm gonna put my babies in plant medicine when they're old enough to want to. Like,
yeah, but
7 or 8.
It's crazy because even, like, going back to, like, my very first ayahuasca ceremony and all the trauma I had in my, like, face from years and years and years of dental work that, was just awful. And having to, like, see it from a perspective of like physical trauma that my body was holding on to.
Yeah.
The plant medicine gave me a perspective of it that I didn't even know was like traumatizing, and like it showed me that there was wounds around my voice because I was so much trauma around my teeth and like all that stuff.
Have you ever looked up what the appendix is?
Oh, I should look it up.
Because you had appendicitis. I wonder what that was. Maybe anger?
Probably. I don't know.
The liver's anger. I know that.
Yeah. Lower back pain. I mean, there's so much.
After I went through my last breakup, I had crazy lower back pain. I've never had lower back pain.
You were very angry at him.
And I almost moved my whole life to Mexico, and then it was like, oh wait, I'm having sex with other women because I'm polyamorous. That's a fun thing too. Anyway,
that was not negotiated prior.
I gave up the majority of my life, which was like very difficult for me because I have a Venus in Taurus. So when you get rid of like everything in the physical plane and you're like, I'm doing this for love, and then morning of you just like don't get on the plane, there's going to be some conflict. I'm actually surprised I didn't get sick. I just had lower back pain.
What do you mean? You were like violently vomiting for like 3 days prior to getting on an airplane. Yeah.
Touche.
So, New German medicine, we have to look up that one too, but...
Why are you vomiting everywhere?
If you're... I mean, the baseline of why we're talking about this is because a lot of people will come to us when they work with us and they're like, oh, I have this and I have that and I have blah, 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 blah. And then we start to break it down and then they're like, oh... this trauma, that trauma, mom, dad, boyfriend, self-devaluation. And as they work through it and, new tools, new programming, understanding transactional analysis and the ability to communicate, things start to dissolve. And there's a really good book, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's written by a chiropractor, and he wrote it all about back pain and anger. And we actually have a mutual friend that talked about, he read this book and he started journaling and he didn't realize how angry he was. And his chiropractor told him like, hey, like start working through, work through this book, see what happens. And, a chiropractor can move bones and put things where they're supposed to be just based on society. Like, we're on a computer all day with the mouse and stuff like that. But when it comes to like actual physical pain, a lot of times certain parts of the body store certain emotions, and New German medicine breaks that down. And, even working in plant medicine and ayahuasca and psilocybin, you can pull up emotions that were stuck in organs that you didn't even realize that were laying dormant from childhood. just because, you know, the body does keep score. It has a memory just like our unconscious mind and our conscious mind does.
Well, yeah, our unconscious mind remembers everything. Thank God that our conscious mind doesn't, because some things I'm like, I don't really want to. But then ayahuasca's like, you're going to remember this. And I'm like,
we're going to go through this again and again and again.
I hate that. Even in microdosing, you can have, you know, repressed memories and stuff come back up. But, you know, we believe that that's all God. So, you know, whatever you need to remember will come back to you. But, you know, conflict and fussing, even if you're not like conflict, but you're just like fussing about something and you're not like, you know, turning it over or meditating or putting it in your God box or whatever. Like, if it's something you can't control, like, don't be a control freak, alpha, sit the fuck down and turn it over to God. You know, I say the serenity prayer probably at least twice a day.
Oh my God.
You know,
Twice? That's it. You only say it twice?
But, you know, it's probably one of the only things I really took from traditional religion that I really love as a tool of just like, is this within my power to change it? No. Well, then I'm willing to change and the rest is up to God. It's not about like me changing somebody else or like trying to control them or manipulate the situation. It's, you know, like on the God or the serenity prayer or whatever. And like, we need to remember what we can and are capable of doing and what we're not, or what is not even our business to control, fuss about, or change. Because the majority of stuff that we're fussing about usually is not something that we ought to be fussing about. It's usually like, oh, well, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, is that even in your control?
Well, no. Yeah, you're 9 times out of 10, you're not in your own lane. If you're fussing about something, you're not in your own lane.
Or making assumptions. Or
yeah,
like,
or you're not driving your own car, as my mentor would say. Get in your own car. That's what she says to us all the time. Get in your own car. Stop driving his car or her car or whatever. Like,
but I like their car.
Yeah, but that's what fussing comes from, though. It's like, where are you taking responsibility, and then you're sick, and you're like, well, look at that. That's cool. Here we are, just causing suffering for no reason. But I think overall, like, New German medicine has really given me a totally different perspective, because, you know, I do believe in germs. I believe that we have germs. I believe that there's bacteria and stuff like that. I've seen them under a microscope. But I don't believe they're here to harm us unless we give them the power, and fussing causes and allows the power for a weak immune system.
Yeah, the other cool thing is that it pertains to animals too.
Yes.
So like German New Medicine, it's actually crazy because she's now an ex-friend of mine, but the one that had breast cancer, her dog actually ended up dying of breast cancer trying to transmute her trauma. So also remember that when you're fussing and you're all, you know, fucked up in the head, like your dogs and your cats and things are like in your energy fields. So just beware of that. You know, it's not that you can't process things and stuff, but like, just be conscious, like when you take shit on and you're taking on shit that's not yours and you're not turning it over, your dogs and animals are suffering because of that, because they literally transmute energy for us. They're like little angels. So I also,
literally,
if you're not willing to do it for yourself, like do it for your animals. You know, your kids, their kids are really similar to that too. You know, we energetically imprint on them. Even if it's like, Nicole and I say this all the time, it's not, you know, do as I say, not as I do. No, we energetically pattern into what you do and like who you are energetically. Animals do that too. So, you know, kids that get sick and all of this stuff, it's just like something to be very aware of, because it's kind of messed up. But it also like keeps you accountable.
Oh, absolutely. And I think as more and more of like the mass consciousness wakes up, especially like what a great time to be alive. Like we're in the age of Aquarius, like people are starting to wake up. They're starting to see these broken systems. They're starting to be more open to the systems being broken. And recognizing, like, I think our animals are becoming even more hypersensitive. Like Shiloh, like she's got doggy trauma, like she has abandonment trauma because she's a COVID baby. She was surrendered by her dad,
and she was given to us.
Yeah, and then she was given to us. Well, okay, surrendered, given.
We stole her. Yeah. I don't really know what happened.
We ended
up with a free dog.
We went on a Dalmatian rescue mission. Mm-hmm. But even sometimes, like when I have to check myself because my dog is actually a mirror. Shiloh will be like super anxious, and then I'm like, oh, I'm super anxious. Like, hold on, we gotta like ground here, meditate, and like focus on. my mental.
She's super
health.
tapped into you.
Yeah, she is.
Also, don't feed your dog regular food. Like,
yeah,
research that because it's just like you. If you're eating shitty food, like that's going to reflect. But also, like the dog food, like what's in that is really terrifying. So, like research organic or like healthier dog food because that's also starting to come into the consciousness.
Yeah, it's huge.
But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yep.
If you're on Spotify or any of that, like comment,
Spotify or
review. She usually does this, but I'm going to do it today. Leave a comment. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas for podcasts that you want to know more about, or if we can elaborate on anything, let us know. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. We have a baby YouTube channel, but we're going to keep showing up and keep growing because we believe that this is important to bring into the consciousness more and more. So, yeah, did I miss anything?
Nope.
Did I do good?
Yes, you did great.
So we'll see you next time.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.